People who are ghosting other people, have you ever been called out? If so, how did that make you feel?
An old ex from college got in touch with me via FB, which was lovely and a tiny bit concerning. Had a great time catching up, getting in touch with old friends from college via this exchange. Seriously, this was the best part of that, etc. His life turned out pretty much as I expected, numerous divorces, presumably some infidelity on his part, etc. Several months into our very polite chats, he suddenly shifts gears hard. He's spouting birther nonsense, trying to get me to leave my husband for him. Literally haven't seen this ex in 20 plus years, and no way in hell is that going to happen. I blocked him on social media and didn't think twice about it afterwards. About 6 months later, our mutual college friends start haranguing me about why I'd ghosted the ex while he was deployed in Afghanistan, how dare I ghost a veteran who needed our support, etc., and how hurt my ex was that I'd cut off our friendship. Oh boy. Here's the thing. I kept a screenshot of his crap to show my husband. And each time one of my college friends started in with that nonsense, I sent them the screen cap. One of the guys was so pissed, he told my ex that if he didn't stop backstabbing, they'd send it to his current wife. Haven't heard anything since, going on 8 years now. I don't expect to. Oh hey, I can answer this. This happened 9 years ago, when I was a teenager. I had started dating a guy who I really liked. He did not like my best friend, and would often make fun of her. I felt like my friendship with her was coming to an end anyway because we were drifting apart, so I didn't stop him. His toxic behavior actually made me start resenting her. Eventually, I just ghosted her. Left her on read. Never hung out with her anymore. We didn't go to the same school, so I just never saw her. She sent me a long message asking why was I not talking to her. Did she make me mad? Did she do something wrong? It was a really heartbreaking message, and I pretty much told her that I felt like we weren't close anymore, that I was in a good relationship and I didn't feel like we were friends anymore. She responded by basically saying she understood with a sad face. I didn't talk to her for almost a year. I'm not sure what the push was. I was still dating the guy, but I missed her and I texted her a very long message apologizing and groveling. That I was wrong and stupid, not sure what came over me, etc. She forgave me. I don't know why. I pulled a really beep move and I know I did it when she was at a low point. I'm so extremely grateful that she decided to give me another chance. We're still best friends to this day. But her confronting me when I initially ghosted her was absolutely miserable and heartbreaking. I still feel like such a piece of beep for it. My biological brother was ghosted by the woman his father was dating, who fathered 3 kids with her. I was adopted and so didn't meet my brother until our 30s when I heard this. Apparently our dad was awful, so it's good I was adopted out, but my brother lived through the worst of it. My brother was 14, living with his dad, the girlfriend and the 3 young boys they had together when his dad was killed in a drunk driving accident. He was the drunk. My brother came home from school one day shortly after and she had packed up the whole house and just left without telling him, he guesses because he wasn't her responsibility. At 14 he came back to an empty house. He had to call his grandparents 3 hours away to come get him. Horrible. He built a good life for himself since, but can you even imagine what that must be like? This happened recently. I had a friend I had known for 25 plus years. We wound up at the same company and realized we lived very close. She was all into office gossip and talked trash about people I liked. I asked her to stop. Any obstacle I was facing was dismissed because she had been through worse. When I needed to talk to someone about personal struggles I was having, she would talk over me and change the subject to her issues. This went on for a few years. I would hang up after talking to her and question why I bothered. Finally, I had enough. I ghosted her and after a few months, she reached out to me via text. I replied and told her why. I was not cruel, just honest. Now I am mean and hurtful. I blocked her and am not regretting this at all. I think about her and hope all is well. I just needed to sever the ties. I'm currently ghosting 2 friends. They are a married couple that wanted to bring me into the relationship. It didn't end well and after 2 months of not speaking to each other, they reached out again. I was willing to re-establish only friendship. But they still were pushing for me to be romantic with the wife. I was pretty uncomfortable and felt anxious about it, especially after the fallout, and decided for everyone's safety and well-being, I needed to block them. They sorely lacked adequate communication for a 3-way relationship and were pretty manipulative with me and used my naivety and trust in them to get what they wanted. Sometimes, ghosting is the answer. Not always. If there's a chance to discuss it rationally, then do it. But if you don't have that chance, ghost. Edit to add, I consider this ghosting because I cut contact without an explanation on seemingly good, in their POV terms. I've always thought that is what ghosting was. The only time I expressed I wanted their friendship was when we initially reconnected after the fight. After that, they began pursuing me again and I decided to completely block them without talking to them about it further. Edit 2. Thank you to everyone that replied. I'm really shocked that there have been so many people with similar experiences and glad to know it wasn't just Amy thing. I figured it was just me getting wrapped up in something wild and it snowballed out of control. I don't have the energy to reply anymore, but I do want to thank everyone for their valuable input and whatnot. Have a great week. 90% of people who ghost have an entirely different version of events. I was recently ghosted by a guy I'd been seeing. He actually reached out and apologized after a while, so that was nice of him, but it doesn't take away how much it hurt. My way of thinking is if someone ghosts you, let the dead rest. No point in chasing it after someone who doesn't want to be chased. I've ghosted, but usually don't get called out. I used to be honest, but having more than one dude call me names for not thinking they were a good match killed that habit. Worst was a dude I'd gone on a couple dates with. He was nice enough, just a little too odd and clingy. Insisted on picking me up, I refused and met him instead. Insisted on driving me to the theater between dinner and the movie. I refused again. Then acted weird in the theater, yelling at people if they so much as coughed. After the movie, he was bold enough to go for a kiss. I did the cheek turn thing, then left. In the 20 minutes it took me to get home, there were over a dozen texts, each one more frantic than the last because I hadn't replied yet. I immediately noped out and ghosted. For weeks I got messages before he told me he thought I was better than this. But then I'd get the odd text like he was testing the water. The weirdest was Shamrock Shake. Want one, Lexi? I'm very glad he didn't have my home address. When things aren't going well in my life, I turn inward and isolate myself. I'm not good at receiving support and therefore I avoid people when I'm not doing well. It makes me ghost the people I care about and then suddenly contact them again, and the cycle continues. I've been called out on it and I'm honest. I'm sure it's hurtful and it makes me feel awful, but I don't know how to be anything but the happy supportive friend that you'll get close to and I'll disappear when I can't be that. Not sure, I'm ghosting my emotions right now, ask again later. I've been ghosting this girl I liked and she hasn't noticed because I'm the one who always starts the conversation. I now know that I'm not technically ghosting her, please stop commenting that. I ghosted a friend once because the relationship was getting too toxic and I wasn't mature enough at the time to have an adult conversation. But we still went to the same university and had the same major. It was like a game to me that semester of going to my classes in the most circuitous ways and doing everything I could to avoid her. Then one day, I randomly ran into her on next to the escalators going down a building. And we just looked at each other for a second. She started to say, he, and before she could even get the word out I just sprinted down the stairs. Except they were elevators escalators and I forgot and I tripped, twisted my ankle to the point where I tore some tendons and ligaments, couldn't walk on my foot at all, and needed to be half carried to the doctor. And because it was after hours, literally no one was there except my ex-friend. I was basically stuck with her for hours because she took me to the ER and stayed with me. Stuck with the person I had ghosted for almost 2 semesters and literally ran away from instead of have a 2-minute conversation. Anyway, we're happily married now for 7 years, so I'm glad I ran into her. I dated a guy for a year, thought things were going well, and then one day he just stopped talking to me. He blocked me through every possible form of communication. 5 months later I got a text in the middle of the night saying how sorry he was, he couldn't believe he let me go, and was there ever a possibility we could get back together? I, being the petty, terrible grudge-holding person that I am, agreed on my terms. I told him I wanted to take things slowly, so I didn't see him in person again. But, for about 3 weeks, I lead him on through texts and phone calls. And then I did the exact same thing that he did to me. I blocked him through every possible means in which he might contact me, and never spoke to him again. Part of me wants to feel bad about what I did, but honestly, I have no regrets at all. Maybe that makes me a bad person, but after over a year of giving my all to someone to just have my heart completely ripped out with no explanation, I figured 3 weeks of hope and getting a taste of his own medicine was little penance for him to pay. I'm going to be honest and let the downvotes roll in, I guess. I have some emotional issues due in part to child abuse and other victimizations throughout my life, and I ghost people a lot. I'm currently alone, except for my husband and kids, because I do it so much. I do it for the following reasons. 1. People in general make me uneasy, so I avoid them. 2. For whatever reason, I have trouble maintaining emotional engagement with people, i.e., I just stop caring enough to respond. I don't know why this happens. 3. There are people who need to be out of my life because they are toxic, and I don't feel strong enough to force them out. I don't want to hurt people, but I know I'll ghost them because of reasons 1 and 2. I have been called out quite a bit about it. If the person is referring to situation 1 or 2, I feel terrible, which reinforces the decision to avoid people in order to avoid hurting them further. If they're referring to situation 3, I don't feel bad at all and feel slightly angry.
May your day be filled with joy and happiness. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more quality content every day.